over 20 years, Zoom Zoom has been the tagline, the brand association with Mazda. It was part of an early campaign, and it was all about the essence of motion, the joy of motion, and that sort of whispering kid that we saw in those early commercials became sort of an identifier for the overall brand. Well, in 2022, Mazda is launching a whole new stage or an evolution of its life as an automobile maker with the launch of its first ever battery electric vehicle. It's beside me here. It's the MX-30. And I guess with that, they have a new way of looking at Zoom Zoom because it now comes in whisper mode. And the 2022 Mazda MX-30 is the feature of my latest review.
Zoom Zoom.
Zoom, zoom, zoom. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Yeah, zoom, 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 zoom. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Yeah.
Now, it's pretty unique for the MX-30 to be an electric vehicle in the Mazda lineup, but I guess they also wanted other things to have this vehicle known for. So with the doors, they decided to do something completely different. They've created Freestyle doors. That's a small vehicle, and it's a 4-door. It's not like you can't have 4 doors effectively in a small, compact vehicle. It happens. But what you've done here is well, let me show you. So you got your front door, which opens up traditionally, but you want to get into your Freedom or your Freestyle door. It's basically, it's the old kind of, some might call it suicide doors. And I don't really know what the effective purpose is for it, other than the fact, it is tight access to get into the second row. There's not a lot of space. It's almost like they call it a Freestyle door. I'd almost, it's you can open up both sides. You can imagine what it would be like, almost like in a Bronco or a Wrangler. And who knows, maybe this is something they'll incorporate in the new CX-50, which is, more their off-road vehicle. But I don't know, because you can't actually get into the second row without opening the front door. So I've had it a few times where I've had to drive my kids. And surprisingly, despite the small amount of space in the back, I have had my eldest son, who's 6'1" in the front, and one of my other sons, who's about 5'11", 5'10" in the back, and there's been room, but in order to get into the second, the person in the front has to get out. So if you're dropping someone off just in the second row, well, the first person passenger in the front has to get out, open up the front. It's a little convoluted. I don't know if it's necessary, but it's definitely a recognizable attribute in the MX-30. So with these lifestyle doors, the way they open up, it kind of reminded me back about 20 years ago when the Caravan first introduced dual sliding doors. It was a big idea, and there was this commercial where, to prove the effectiveness of it, there was a snowball fight with kids, and the guy could attack behind the car because the door's open and his enemy got hit. So you know what? It's winter time. Why don't I try that here? Matthew, just back up the camera bit a little bit. Open up the wide angle. You ready? All right, snowball fight. Here we go.
The front-wheel drive MX-30 is fueled by a prismatic lithium-ion battery pack offering 355 total volts of power. It is connected to an 80.9 kilowatt electric motor and offers a net output of 143 horsepower and 200 pound-feet of torque. The batteries are located below the passenger compartment and offers a 50-50 weight distribution for ideal balance and handling. Mazda will back the system with a 8-year or 160,000 kilometer warranty. The MX-30 offers adjustable regenerative braking through 5 different settings that are controlled by paddle shifters on the steering wheel. However, unlike some other EVs on the market, the full regen mode will not bring the MX-30 to a full stop. There is also not a one-pedal driving mode available. The MX-30 has a variety of charging options available to it. It can receive up to 50 kilowatt hours of level 3 DC fast charging and can go from 20% to 80% in 36 minutes. Using a 240 volt 30 amp charger, it will take just under 3 hours. And if you want to use just a 120 volt 15 amp trickle charge, you can go from 20 to 80% in 13 hours and 40 minutes. Mazda has partnered with ChargePoint and is offering a $500 credit, which can then be used for public charging or applied towards the purchase of a level 2 ChargePoint home charger.
So the big issue with this MX-30, and the one that most people are talking about right now as a major downfall, is its effective driving range. It is posted, according to Mazda, at about 160 kilometers or 100 miles of effective range. First of all, that is an estimate. It is based on testing in a simulated situation, even though it's more effective 5-point testing than it was once upon a time. It still doesn't factor in a lot of variables. So it is completely possible that, say, in the summertime, under ideal conditions, you could get far and above that amount. You could probably get to 200 kilometers or more, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But I'm in wintertime right now. It's been very cold this week in January, and I've been seeing only an effective range of about 120 kilometers. I think I got to 125 one day, but that's about it. So obviously you can see a lower range in winter because, of course, the battery must be used to heat, whereas in an internal combustion engine, it draws from the residual heat loss to help in wintertime. But is that a problem? Is that really going to be the Achilles heel? Is it really going to hamper this vehicle? I could argue yes, but some people could argue no. Now, this is an intentional choice for Mazda to leave it at this size and range. The argument that they make is even with this type of effective range, there are many EV potential owners that would not drive this amount of distance in a day. And in fact, that's quite true. There's a lot of people who seldom drive this much in a day. And to that purpose, it could work. Now, one of the ways that Mazda is trying to overcome the hesitancy you would see with such an effective driving range, in that when you own or lease an MX-30, you'll also have access to rent for free from a Mazda dealer any other vehicle in their lineup for up to 10 days a year. So if you're going on a trip and you'll be doing long distance driving and this MX-30 wouldn't work effectively, no problem. Take out a CX-5 or a CX-9. That's something that you can do to counter it. And I suppose that also helps to mitigate the mindset. Here in North America, we tend to be fixated on buying a vehicle that meets our needs 5% of the time. And we'll always have these people who say, I need a truck because I have a boat or I have a trailer that I bring up once or twice a year. Even though most of the time your effective driving is well within the range of an EV, we buy for that real small, rare occasion. And as a result, we're driving way more than we need most of the time. And that's just the reality of here in North America. So at least this 10-day rental offsets that. Mazda may be late to the game in the electrification field, but it's not as if they haven't been doing anything else to, basically overall improve the carbon footprints of their fleet. In fact, based on statistics and based on the average cumulative carbon footprints of all of their offerings, Mazda is the second best automaker around. The only one that's better is Tesla. That's because they're completely tailpipe free. So how is Mazda doing this without hybrids or electrics, plug-ins up till now? Well, it's because they've really done the most efficient they can with respect to the vehicles they have in internal combustion. Their Skyactiv G and their Skyactiv X technology, which is exceptional. It's that finally coming together, that sweet spot of compression and combustion to get the maximum efficiency possible. I'm really disappointed that we haven't seen Skyactiv X here in North America. It was 4 years ago this week when I went down to California to get a demo of their Skyactiv X. They modified an old Mazda 3, put an X powertrain in it, and showed us how good it can be. Well, that engineering prowess has given them a low footprint. And it's that engineering prowess that I'm disappointed to see hasn't been applied to this MX-30. Because one of the big drawbacks that also impacts the range of this MX-30 is it's not efficient with the energy it has. I have been talking for a long time now about we should be looking more and more at efficiency of EVs compared to just range. And this is a perfect illustration of it. With a small battery, if you have a more efficient engineering where you can get more out of what you have, this limited range could be much higher. The combined efficiency rating that we have here of this MX-30 in Canadian metrics, it's about 23 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. In US, it's like 37 kilowatt hours per 100 miles. That's horrible compared to what it is. It's about 50% less efficient than the most efficient EVs on the market right now, the Tesla Model 3 and the Hyundai Ioniq. In fact, vehicles like the Mustang Mach-E are more efficient. The ID4 is more efficient. So, you know, it's basically like this is a gas guzzler of a small car. And if you basically have a limited, energy deposit, such as a small battery, and you burn it, poorly, then you're going to get limited range. It's almost like putting a 10-gallon tank for gas on a Challenger Hellcat or a Maybach. You're just not going to go very far. So if that engineering prowess that Mazda is known for with the development of their SkyActiv technology could be applied to making this EV way more efficient than it is right now, well, now you could see an effective range of well over 200, and you change the game completely as to how it's more palatable for people looking to buy an EV. They could do it, so do it.
All of Mazda's interiors have a look of elegance and quality craftsmanship to them, and the MX-30 is no different. Sustainable design elements are clearly visible inside, which is highlighted by the use of cork in the floating center console. Interior fabrics contain 20% recycled threads, and door trims are made from recycled plastic PET bottles. The MX-30 is a small vehicle, and it has the interior dimensions to show it. There is 93.8 cubic feet of total passenger volume, which actually isn't bad overall. It has slightly more interior space than the Nissan Leaf, but is about 3 cubic feet smaller than the Kia Niro EV. Now, the MX-30 doesn't do as well in cargo volume, however. With 15.2 cubic feet of cargo behind the second row and 37.2 cubic feet with the second row seats down, it trails just about all the other EVs it would be competing against. In Canada, the Mazda MX-30 is only available at the moment in British Columbia and Quebec. Thanks to provincial rebates as well as government requirements regarding EV sales as a percentage of total automobile sales for automakers, these two provinces accounted for a full 75% of all EV sales in Canada in 2020. It likely won't be until the MX-30 PHEV comes out that Ontario and the rest of Canada may have the ability to order one. In Canada, the MX-30 has a starting price of $42,150. It qualifies for both the federal and provincial rebates, so it is possible to be into one for under $30,000 depending upon location and trim level. In the US, the MX-30 is only available in California at the moment as a compliance car, but it does qualify for all applicable tax credits.
So with the launch of the MX-30, Mazda has also given details of its global electrification strategy. Between now and 2025, their global target is to introduce 3 additional full electric models, 5 additional plug-in hybrids, and 5 traditional hybrid vehicles, some in collaboration with other auto manufacturers. Now, that global rollout is not the same as here in North America. In North America, between now and 2025, they will have this MX-30. They will launch a plug-in hybrid variant of the MX-30. That, as I'm being told, is more of a range extender version. What I'm hearing is they're basically going to bring back their rotary engine and use it as an extender, pretty much like the way the Chevy Volt was, in that there isn't going to be the gas-powered engine touching the wheels. It's going to basically fuel up the battery to keep it going. That's the idea, or the i3 Rex version is the same idea. But there'll be that, and one additional plug-in hybrid between 2025, as well as a crossover hybrid electric. That's it. Mazda will argue that the North American strategy is because it's more nascent here. It's not as sophisticated. It's not as, the appetite isn't there. The regulations aren't here as they are, say, in Europe and other parts of the world. But at the same time, I'm gonna question, when it comes to things like this, who's really leading the charge? Is it consumers are going to tell automakers what they want to buy, or is it been automakers who have been creating things and then creating the desire through their marketing campaigns? And let's be honest, in North America, that's quite often been the case. We're not as addicted to trucks and crossovers and you know, basically high carbon footprint vehicles, just because suddenly consumers said, yeah, you know what, I think I need a big honkin' V8 8-passenger monster. Yeah, we need more trucks because, you know, when we go to the grocery store, we might go over mountain ranges, as so often you see in the commercials. That's been because the emotive response has been created through the marketing that we see from automakers. The big three in North America do that all the time. So it's not that they can't lead the change. We could see more of this. Mazda could say, we're all in North America too, but they're not because, you know, this market isn't ready for them. But why aren't they doing more to make that happen? There is so much to unpack when looking as a final thought on this MX-30 and Mazda's overall strategy for electrification. Globally, it's good to see that they're finally advancing by adding more models, electrification, even plug-in hybrids. But I'm disappointed at the slow pace here in North America. I mean, they should be leading the change versus responding to what consumers feel they want or what they think they want. As for the MX-30 itself, there's a lot to like about it. I mean, it's a good looking vehicle. It drives well. It's appointed well. I mean, there's quirky elements. I'm really not sure about the door, to be honest, yet. I'll have to think whether I really like it or not. But the range is going to be a limiter. We here in North America are fixated on it, and that's going to be something they're going to have to overcome. You can make all the arguments why it works, but the mindset is different here in North America. So we will see ultimately just what this becomes. Of course, it's a limited availability product right now. As that changes this year and gets into new markets, we'll see how accepted it is. But despite all the fluctuations and variations and limitations, I still enjoyed the chance to get a chance to drive it and bring you this review, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Now, if you're not subscribed to my channel, I'd ask you please consider doing so. And if you are, I hope you've made sure that your indications are on so that you know every time I upload something new. That's it for now. I'm Eric Novak. Thanks for watching.
There's plenty of ways for you to keep connected with me, so check out some of my social media links, suggested videos, and I'd really love it if you subscribe to my YouTube channel.